action.
All right, so this class is truly about walking, and we talk about the fountain of youth, new fountain of youth. And one of the things that we're going to kind of get into is some of the information that's the most recent when it comes to exercise. We used to think about how hard we had to work out. May not be as important as we once thought it was. So I'm going to get into some facts and make you understand that just a little bit better. Why walking itself is probably one of the very best and healthiest things we can do for our bodies. So let's get right into it. First thing that we have to do is ask the question why. When it comes to doing any type of exercise or a new program or anything, we need something, some kind of a motivation and some type of an inspiration to try and get up, get off the couch, and go do something that's going to be healthy for us. When we ask ourselves some of these things, first thing is, well, we will not start anything in life unless our why is big enough or strong enough to overcome why not to. So if our why to stay on the couch is bigger than our why to get up, we're going to stay on the couch. It's that simple. If our why is big enough to get up and go, then we get up and go. It's a pretty simple thing to understand, but it's so important to be really clear on why we do what we do and why do we want to do it. For many of us, it takes something painful or something fearful or unfortunately for a lot of people, some type of a health scare to even just get up and get us to move. And I was at a conference not too long ago, and it just kind of out of my mouth came, everybody wants to eat a salad after they have a heart attack, but nobody wants to eat one before. And I thought to myself, I said, I got to remember that line, because it's so critical that we do the things to not get sick, not all of a sudden try and pull ourselves back from sickness, back into health, which is so hard to do because we pushed our bodies and stressed our bodies that much to get to that point. So, what's your why? We'll talk about that some more. Most of us don't take the time to even realize why we do some of the things we do, some of the habits that we've created. We do things because we feel like it or don't feel like it, not necessarily because we're trying to make our lives better, improve our lives, and be more healthy rather than wait until we get sick to try and do things. And the vast majority of the population makes the decisions based on fear. Like I said before, a lot of us don't get up and really do anything until we're really sick, and that's way too late. There's a whole spectrum of health that we gradually lose to the point that we get to sickness and disease, or dis-ease as we like to call it in chiropractic. So we want to try and get to these things. We don't want to wait till we're that sick and then have to try and come back. And so you want to go ahead and give that a shot. With the dark letters, I don't know if it's going to... Good? All right. Oh, and there was one more. We'll do a little editing on that piece. So, and a lot of us want to blame. So we don't want to take responsibility for our health. We want to blame. And what are the things we blame? We blame doctors. We blame insurance companies. We blame the food companies for putting too much sugar in our foods. We even, we want to blame the government for the state of health care. Ultimately, it's your health. It's your body. It's your decision to put the things into it that you put into it every day. If you look at any change that's ever occurred in the food industry, if nobody bought something, they don't keep making it. You have the power in your hands to drive where the food companies put, or what the food companies put on the shelf. I mean, many years ago, there was nothing gluten-free. You had to struggle anything to buy gluten-free. Now we have GF marked all over half the foods in the food store and entire food sections that are gluten-free. And that's the people that drove that market, that bought and searched for those types of foods, that made the food industry completely change everything that they did. So you have the power in your hands to make those decisions. You do. It's your health. Your doctors are there to help you and guide you. The insurance companies are there to help you out with costs of things, but they don't make the decisions about your health. They pay for you would help you with sickness, but not with health. The idea is to stay healthy, get as healthy as you possibly can, and not have to use those other things. So, do you want to zoom in one more time to get that last part? Good? All right. And responsibility. So we talked about that before. We have to take responsibility. Ultimately, it's our choices. We talk about research that's out there. Ultimately, there's a research study that came out not too long ago that says the one thing that cuts our lives the shortest are making poor decisions. Poor decisions lead to most of our untimely deaths. So most of the diseases that we get sick from nowadays are things that could have been prevented. A lot is going on right now with, for example, type 2 diabetes. And type 2 diabetes, the majority of patients that have that, if they changed their diets, exercised, made a few lifestyle changes, wouldn't even have type 2 diabetes. You could get rid of it. I believe the numbers are like 87% of the people with type 2 diabetes could reverse that process if they were willing to do the work and change their lifestyle around. Unfortunately, it's a lot easier to just take a couple of extra units of insulin than it is to go for a walk or motivate yourself when you're tired and really eat the right types of foods to reverse that condition and disease. The issue is that so many other diseases were brought about, raised up, and worsened, like heart disease. Alzheimer's is now being associated with it, cardiovascular diseases, any types of vascular diseases, damage to the nervous system, neurological diseases, autoimmune diseases are all being related back to the inflammation in the body and this type 2 diabetes and even the early hypoglycemic levels and the sugar levels that we're exposed to because bottom line, we eat too much sugar. And I know you guys, some of you have listening to this or watching this, have heard me talk about that in some of my other classes, and I have classes specifically about that, so you may want to check out some of the other videos that we have on here if you haven't. Talk about Terry's story. So we have a patient named Terry. He's had severe diabetes. He's dropped his A1C over 3 full points by just walking. And that's the one thing that he's made the biggest difference with. He has tweaked his diet a bit. He is trying to eat healthier. But the walking is the one thing and the exercise that he does diligently and religiously that makes the biggest changes and has made the biggest change to his A1C. And he's still in the diabetic range, but he's at the very bottom end of the diabetic range because of the changes that he's made. And what I truly hope is that next time I do this class, I want to be telling your story. I want to hear about the changes you made because you figured out what your why was, made it big enough, and got up off the couch and started doing some of these exercises. And when it's got to be simple, it can't be intense, it can't be stressful. We don't want our exercise to be something that causes more damage to our body. We want exercise to be a thing that takes the stress out of our system and makes our bodies healthier. We've already got enough stress, folks. We don't necessarily need to run marathons. You don't have to be a power lifter and a bodybuilder. If you want that level of physical fitness, it's okay, but those things are going to come with a little bit of a price later on in life with hurt joints and things like that. And we see a lot of times where there's damage to hearts in people who run marathons, and powerlifters have cardiovascular disease early. So it's not necessarily healthy, although it may be incredibly physical fitness, and you may be able to do some amazing things. It's not necessarily the thing that's going to make your life last the longest. The thing that we see, oh, by the way, there's my why. That's my son. I'm 50 years old. Well, I'm over 50 now because he's past where he was in this picture. But this is my boy, and he's the thing that's giving me my why to get up, exercise. I have to do it early in the morning before my house gets going, or I don't get it done at all because life is just too busy. Too many things come up, get in the way. I don't get it done. I've got to do it first thing in the morning. I'm still half asleep, I swear, sometimes while I'm doing my exercises, but once I get going, it wakes me up. I'm energized for the whole rest of the day. So, a couple of research things. One study shows us that people who walk 4 hours a week show a significant decrease in heart disease. And this is going to be just some general topics from different research. And there's a whole bunch more research articles that I can put on here or take the time to do, but I want to keep this video short but informative, inspirational, and hopefully feed your why and keep building it up. Another study shows walking 6 hours a week reduces dementia and is the only repeatedly proven thing to prevent dementia. I don't know if that's anybody's worried about that. Dementia and Alzheimer's are one of the things that we're very seriously concerned about. All doctors, no matter what your field, the numbers are going up and up and up and up and up. And there's some talk right now that they're actually going to link dementia and Alzheimer's as type 3 diabetes, meaning it's so related and so intricately linked to diabetes type 2 and the sugar issues and the insulin development problems that we have and how it releases throughout the course of the day, that it's actually going to be a type 3 diabetes is the way it's going to be categorized in the near future. So yes, walking is critically important to try to prevent that, get good blood flow to the brain and balance out those insulin levels. Another study shows walking 30 minutes 3 to 4 times a week can add as many as 10 years to your life. And this is an old Harvard study that I took this from, where they took almost 20,000 participants, monitored them for many, many years, and watched how they did. And what they found was no matter whether you smoked, drank, ate the wrong foods, no matter what you did, the people who walked 3 to 4 times a week for at least 30 minutes on an exercise, not just at work walking for 30 or 40 minutes, but in an exercise way that calmed the brain, moved the blood through the system, those were the people that actually outlived everybody by 10 years. And not that they just outlived everybody by 10 years, but they weren't like alive, sick, tied up to a bed with tubes someplace that tubes were never meant to go in a hospital, and alive. But these people are really living, they're productive, and they keep moving. And just think about it. Think about it. If you just take one kind of second and think about your family, your friends, the people that you know, the ones that are still walking are the ones that are out there walking. The ones that are not walking anymore are the people that are still stuck on the couch. Their why wasn't big enough. They were sore. They were tired. They didn't feel like it. Trust me, everybody's sore. Everybody's tired. Nobody feels like it. But the people that have the why that's big enough to get them up off that couch and go, those are the ones that are still walking in their 70s and 80s and 90s. When there's 50s, 60s, and 70-year-olds that can't even do what some of the 90-year-olds are doing today because they got up and moved. It's not an age thing. It's not a genetic, miraculous thing that somebody's different. It's that they get up and push it every day, even when they don't feel good, so that the next day they can get up and push it again. And not that that pain gets so intense because they gave into it and can't move at all. You've got to have a big enough why to get past that to keep going. Walking can reduce breast cancer by 10%, colon cancer by 25%, and increase your survival rates in those who are already in treatment for cancers by more than 50%. Meaning that if you've already started, you've already been diagnosed, and you're already being treated for these types of conditions, you can reduce you can increase your survival rate by 50% by just walking. I have to pause for a second on that. You have to really get that. You have to think about it. And I started to think, why is this so important? Why is this all happening? And what's more natural for the human body than to walk? And what are we doing in society now as the society is getting sicker and sicker and sicker all the time? We sit. We sit in cubicles. We sit at computers. Our kids are locked into cell phones, not moving at all. They don't even have PE classes in many schools anymore, and it's an elective. You don't have to get up and move anymore. They just get to go sit and play on their phones and play on tablets in this horrible posture position, which of course we do our class on tech neck and talk about that too, and the exercises and ways to help with that. But think about what's happening. If not for you, be an example for your children to move. They have to see their parents move. You can't let your kids see you sitting at a desk all day and not moving, because that's what they're going to think is okay. You have to get up and move. You have to exercise together, have to exercise as a family. If I am exercising at home, my 1-year-old son, who's barely learning to stand and walk, if I start doing squats, he automatically starts to mimic me and starts doing squats. It's hysterical, it's cute, it's adorable, but he instinctively wants to do what we're doing. That's every child who's growing up. They watch their parents, they observe their parents. Kids will never do what we say. If you're a parent, you know this to be true. They're going to do what they see us do. So we have to be careful of how we act and the things that we do, because they're going to mimic that by nature. And it's everything in nature. Every animal in nature mimics what their parent does. That's to survive. That's their inbred survival instinct that's inside of them. Their innate intelligence talks to them about that all the time. We have to be very careful about that. We need to show them how important exercise is, or our society is just going to keep getting sicker and sicker and sicker. So, walking is important, but it's also just a piece of the puzzle. We got to reduce stress. So there is a class that we do on stress. You'll see it on here. We're going to be doing these all throughout the year. We're going to be getting more and more classes up so that you can take the time to watch that. Stress hormones cause you to release more sugar into the blood and increase storage of fat when we don't move around. Not good. We don't need more fat, more blood sugar, more sugar in our blood. So we need to eat properly so you can... One of my favorite lines that I saw at a gym one time is you can never out-train with a poor diet. So no matter how hard you exercise, if you're putting bad food in constantly and the food is worse than you're exercising, you'll never get ahead. A pound of fat usually equates to about 3,500 calories. So figure out how many calories you're burning with your exercise and how much bad stuff you're putting in. Ultimately, there's so much stuff going on in diets right now. You could change the channel from one diet show to another diet show, and they're telling you to eat completely different. One of the things that we're generally seeing right now is there's way, way, way too much sugar in our diets and in our foods. We need to find ways to reduce that. And fats that we used to think were not good. There are good fats and bad fats, by the way. Increasing fats is healthier than we ever realized. It's really important for brain function. And so there's all types of, that seems to be the way the diets are moving right now. When we spent all these years saying we got to reduce fat, we had all these low-fat carb chips and all stuff like that. All that meant was it had so much more sugar in it and less fat, and we got sicker. So what we're finding is we really actually needed the fat, but we need healthy fats at that. And we have classes that are all on that too, you'll see in the future. So thyroid can play an important role, especially in women when it comes to weight loss. Walking is critical. That'll help balance that out. Proper rest is necessary for tissue to repair. Adults need 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep a night. That's just a fact. The healthiest people have 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep a night. There are a couple of people that genetically can get away with 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night, but there's only less than 1% of the population that's true for. The more you break your system down, the less you give it a chance to repair, the harder it is to be healthy. It's just bottom line, simple. Couple of simple steps. We need to have chiropractic adjustments. Why? Not because your back hurts, but number one, if you do feel better, obviously it's a lot easier to get up and exercise, isn't it? If you feel okay than when you hurt. But remember, like I said earlier, you got to exercise even if you hurt. But we also know that a healthy functioning nervous system, your brain has to be able to communicate with all of your internal organs, needs to monitor how every single joint is moving, and if any of those messages are being blocked or irritated, then you're not going to be at your optimal level of health no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try. You're not even going to digest food the way you're supposed to. We need a calm nervous system because that is what controls everything, and I mean everything in your body. So, what's coming up next? Well, we're going to be doing classes, as I mentioned a couple of times. We have all kinds of topics this year. We're going to be doing 1 or 2 every month throughout the year. We're going to get as many of them up on our YouTube site as possible. We are doing things right now. This is important. By the way, I've been teaching for over 25 years. I've done local lectures for companies all over Virginia Beach, even outside Virginia Beach and Chesapeake, Norfolk, all over Hampton Roads, I should say. And I travel all the time. I speak at chiropractic organizations. I teach to other doctors. I've taught at our local TCC college for 7, almost 8 years. I just love to teach. I've taught at massage therapy schools. It's just a passion of mine. So I want our community to be a healthier community. The only way we get to be healthier is if we have better information. And we're not getting it. There's no other place to get it. So if you have a group, an organization, anything that you belong to that can have a speaker, I would love to come and speak and some healthy message. I have lots of topics. You can pick any one of the classes on our YouTube site. Love to come and speak about anything you'd like to have me come speak about that can help you all be a healthier group of people. So please feel free to reach out to me if you need anything or like to have a speaker. And we now have Facebook, which we do Facebook Live things, posts, openings and closings in the office. We have Instagram, all these young kids in the office helping us out, set all this stuff up. For me, you know, I didn't even have a cell phone when I started to become a chiropractor. I know that's crazy to even think about 30 years ago, but we didn't even have one. I think the first one I had was like a giant walkie-talkie army thing that it was huge, like this, had to carry around with 2 hands and a battery pack. So we have stuff that we're putting up on YouTube. Obviously, if you're watching this, you know we have our YouTube available. And of course, we have our website. Our website's great, not just for signing up that first time and looking at it, but every single month there's there's a new newsletter, there's new articles, there's new research that can help you feed your why on why you want to do things and get healthy. My one final favorite quote is, when you have your health, you have 1,000 dreams, and when you lose your health, you only have one. And that is, in case you don't know, to get your health back. There's nothing more important than your health. Give it a place and time in your day. Get healthy, folks. See you soon.
Thank you for watching our video. If you like what you saw, be sure to subscribe to our channel.
Yeah, and like us on Facebook. There's always a lot of information also on our website at rosemontchiropractic.com.